You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And the truth is, most people don't lack motivation, they lack consistency. We live in a world that praises intensity but forgets the quiet, repeated acts that build greatness. We love stories of people doing the impossible, but we rarely talk about the daily disciplines, the boring routines, the uncomfortable sacrifices, the secrets that make it possible. So let's talk about what really keeps you consistent, no matter what. Not the hacks, not the hustle, the truth. Most people think they need more motivation to stay consistent. They wait for the right time, the right energy, or the perfect mindset to begin. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. What truly keeps people consistent, especially when things get hard, is purpose. Purpose drives persistence in a way that motivation never can. When you know why you're doing something, it becomes easier to keep going even when the excitement fades. Purpose gives meaning to the repetition. It turns mundane actions into meaningful steps. Waking up early isn't just a chore when it's tied to becoming the person you've always wanted to be. Going to the gym, writing a page, making that uncomfortable call, it all becomes part of a bigger picture. Without that deeper connection, consistency feels like punishment. With it, it becomes progress. People who succeed over the long term are rarely the most talented. They are the ones who stay committed when others quit. And that commitment doesn't come from discipline alone. It comes from clarity. Clarity of purpose allows them to endure discomfort, navigate failure, and overcome boredom. They know what they're fighting for. They know what matters. That knowing becomes their anchor. Think of anyone who's achieved something meaningful in their life. Athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, educators, they all have one thing in common, a reason that fuels them. That reason isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's personal. Sometimes it's about proving something, or changing a family legacy, or making life better for someone else. But whatever it is, it burns deep. It carries them through when motivation fails. When you forget your purpose, you become more reactive. You start chasing trends. You give up easily. You bounce from one thing to the next because there's no emotional weight holding you to your path. But when you're clear on your why, you become unshakable. You don't stop just because it's hard. You stop only when it's done. Purpose also makes the pain worth it. Every worthwhile journey comes with resistance, doubt, fear, rejection, fatigue. If your purpose is shallow, you'll quit the first time life pushes back. But when your purpose is meaningful, it transforms pain into growth. You begin to see setbacks as necessary. You stop avoiding effort and start embracing it. Because it's proof that you're doing something that matters. Purpose also sharpens focus. When you have a strong why, you stop chasing distractions. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stay in your lane because you know where you're going. It's easier to say no to what doesn't matter when you're committed to what does. And it's not about having a perfect purpose. It's about having a real one. Something that connects to your values, your beliefs, your vision for your life. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to know that your actions are aligned with something that matters to you. At the end of the day, the people who stay consistent are the ones who are connected to something bigger than the task itself. They're not driven by quick wins or external praise. They're driven by the inner knowing that what they're doing has meaning. That's what fuels them to keep showing up on the hard days, the quiet days, the days no one is watching. Because when you have purpose, persistence stops being a struggle. It becomes your natural response. Goals are important. They give us direction, something to aim for. But goals alone don't create results. What actually leads to long-term success and consistency are systems. Systems are the daily actions, routines, and habits that move us forward. While goals are about outcomes, systems are about the process. And the truth is, it's the process we live in every day. That's where the real change happens. A goal might be to lose weight, write a book, or start a business. But those are just targets. They're abstract until something is done. The system is what brings them to life. It's the choice to eat healthy meals, to write 500 words a day, to make one business call every morning. Systems are where consistency is built, because systems make the behavior automatic. Most people fail not because they didn't set goals, but because they didn't build the systems to support those goals. They get inspired, they write down their vision, and for a while they take action. But without a structure, the excitement fades. They fall back into old pattern. This isn't a discipline problem, it's a design problem. The system wasn't strong enough to carry them when motivation ran out. Systems remove decision fatigue. When something is built into your daily routine, you don't have to think about whether or not to do it. It just becomes part of who you are. You don't need to wake up and debate going for a run. If your system says I run every morning at 7, then that's what happens. No negotiation. The action becomes automatic and consistency becomes effortless. The power of systems is also in their focus on action, not outcome. Goals are often binary, you succeed or you fail. That can create pressure, but systems are continuous. They allow you to measure progress in terms of effort, habit, and rhythm. You can't control how fast you lose weight or how many people buy your book, but you can control your system, how often you show up, how consistently you create, how committed you are to the work. Another problem with focusing too much on goals is that once the goal is achieved, people often stop, they hit their target and lose momentum because they were chasing an endpoint, not building a way of life. Systems prevent that. They create sustainable habits that outlast any single accomplishment. They make growth ongoing instead of temporary. Systems also help manage setbacks. When your identity is tied to a goal, failure can feel personal. But when you're committed to a system, failure becomes just another step in the process. You don't fall apart, you adjust. You don't give up, you adapt. The system keeps moving, and so do you. It's important to note that systems aren't meant to be rigid or robotic, they're meant to serve you. A good system is flexible, adaptable, and realistic. It fits into your life and supports your purpose. It helps you take consistent action even when things aren't perfect. Over time, that consistency compounds into results. If you want to change your life, don't just ask what your goals are. Ask what your systems are. What do you do every day? What habits are you reinforcing? What routines are shaping your future without you even realizing it? Because the quality of your system determines the quality of your outcomes. Goals set the vision, but systems build the reality. If you get your systems right, the results will take care of themselves. Perfection is a trap. It sounds noble, even admirable. This idea of aiming to be flawless, but in reality the pursuit of perfection often leads to procrastination, burnout, and ultimately giving up. That's because perfection is unattainable. No matter how hard you try, there will always be flaws, mistakes, and setbacks along the way. And when people expect perfection and fall short, they blame themselves, feel defeated, and stop trying. That's why the key to consistency, growth, and long-term success is progress, not perfection. Progress is about movement. It's about showing up, taking steps, and getting better over time. It's forward momentum, even if it's slow, even if it's clumsy, even if it's invisible to the outside world. Progress is the willingness to be bad at something long enough to get good at it. It's about embracing the process instead of obsessing over the result. Most people quit because they're holding themselves to impossible standards. They believe if they can't do it perfectly, they shouldn't do it at all. So they miss one workout and decide the week is ruined. They eat one unhealthy meal and throw out the entire diet. They stumble once and convince themselves they've failed completely. That mindset kills consistency. Because consistency isn't about doing everything right. It's about doing something right often enough to make a difference. When you shift your focus to progress, everything changes. You stop needing every day to be a win. You just need it to be a step. You stop judging yourself so harshly for the days when you don't feel 100%, and you learn to appreciate the effort it takes to keep going, even when it's hard. Progress is built in small, often unnoticed moments. It's not dramatic, it's not always exciting, but it's real, and it adds up. Progress also teaches you patience. When you're not obsessed with instant results, you give yourself time to grow. You learn to trust the compounding power of small actions done repeatedly. One workout doesn't make you fit. One journal entry doesn't make you wise. One deep conversation doesn't fix a relationship. But if you do it over and over again, it builds something strong, something lasting, something real. Another gift of focusing on progress is freedom. Perfection keeps you stuck. You become afraid to start, afraid to be seen, trying, afraid of making mistakes. But progress frees you to act. It gives you permission to be a beginner, to be imperfect, to experiment. When the goal is growth, every experience has value, even the ones that feel like failure. We need to normalize imperfection. We need to stop holding ourselves to imaginary standards set by social media, by highlight reels, by unrealistic expectations. Real growth is messy, real success includes setbacks, and real progress includes days when all you can do is just not quit. The most consistent people in the world are not the ones who get everything right. They're the ones who are kind to themselves when things go wrong. They don't stop because of one bad day. They don't let guilt or shame dictate their next move. They simply take the next step and then the next one. Progress builds momentum. Perfection builds pressure. One makes you resilient. The other makes you rigid. One keeps you moving. The other keeps you stuck. So let go of the need to be perfect. Start valuing the small wins. Start celebrating the effort. Start honoring the journey. Because every time you choose progress over perfection, you're building something stronger than results. You're building character, discipline, and belief in yourself. And that's what real success is made of. Success isn't just about willpower or discipline. It's about design. If you want to stay consistent and achieve meaningful results, you need to build an environment that makes success easier and failure harder. Most people try to change their behavior without changing the conditions that shape that behavior. They rely on motivation while staying in environments that drain them, but environment always wins. It influences your choices, your focus, your energy, often without you realizing it. Your environment includes everything around you, the people you interact with, the space you work or live in, the habits of your friends, the distractions you allow, and the tools you have access to. Every part of that environment either supports your goals or sabotages them. If you're trying to stay focused but you're surrounded by noise and clutter, your environment is working against you. If you're trying to eat healthier but your kitchen is full of junk food, your environment is encouraging failure. And if your friends dismiss your goals or distract you from growth, your environment is silently pulling you away from your purpose. One of the most powerful ways to build consistency is to design your environment to make the right actions frictionless. If you want to work out, lay your clothes out the night before. If you want to write, keep your workspace clean and open your document first thing in the morning. If you want to read more, leave a book on your pillow instead of your phone. When you make the good choice the easy choice, consistency becomes much more natural. It also helps to make the wrong actions harder to do. Put your phone in another room while you work. Unfollow accounts that distract or discourage you. Block websites that pull you into hours of scrolling. If you reduce access to your biggest temptations, you don't need to constantly fight them. You simply remove the trigger. Environment also includes your social circle. The people around you influence your mindset, your habits, and even your standards. If you surround yourself with people who are ambitious, focused, and encouraging, you're more likely to rise to that level. But if you spend time with people who complain, give up easily, or mock self-improvement, you'll start to absorb that energy, often without realizing it. Protect your energy by choosing who gets access to it. Another key part of environment is routine. Structure creates stability. When your days are chaotic or reactive, it's hard to stay consistent. But when you create structure, waking up at the same time, having a set routine, building habits into specific times and places, you reduce the number of decisions you need to make. That frees up energy and increases follow-through. You can also use visual cues in your environment to remind you of your goals. A vision board, a quote on the wall, a checklist by your desk. These small reminders help keep your purpose in front of you. When you're constantly reminded of what you're working toward, it becomes harder to drift off course. The truth is, your environment either supports your identity or it works against it. If you want to become a writer, create a space that invites writing. If you want to be healthier, design your kitchen and your schedule to reflect that. Don't expect to become someone new in an environment built for your old habits. Changing your environment isn't about controlling everything. It's about setting yourself up to succeed more often than not. It's about giving yourself every advantage you can, because when your environment supports your goals, consistency becomes easier, effort feels lighter, and success becomes a natural byproduct of your surroundings. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to build a world around you that helps you keep moving in the right direction. Every day, most people approach change by focusing on what they want to achieve. They set goals like, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to write a book, or I want to get promoted. But real lasting transformation doesn't happen when we chase outcomes. It happens when we shift our identity. Identity-based habits are built from the inside out. Instead of asking, what do I want to accomplish? You ask, who do I want to become? This shift changes everything. When your actions are tied to your identity, consistency becomes natural. You're no longer forcing yourself to act a certain way. You're simply living in alignment with who you believe you are. If you believe you're a healthy person, going for a run isn't a chore, it's something you do because it's part of who you are. If you believe you're a writer, writing daily isn't a struggle, it's a reflection of your identity. The strongest habits aren't built on discipline alone, they're built on identity. That's why most resolutions fail. People try to change behavior without changing belief. They focus on what they want to do instead of who they want to be. But if your self-image contradicts your actions, you will always revert to your identity. You can force yourself to go to the gym for a while, but if deep down you still see yourself as someone who's lazy or inconsistent, the old behavior will return. Real consistency happens when the behavior feels like you. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. One healthy meal is a vote for I am someone who takes care of my body. 1 hour of focused work is a vote for I am someone who values productivity. You don't need unanimous votes, you just need a majority. Every small action you take either reinforces your old identity or builds a new one. The beauty of identity-based habits is that they start small. You don't need to change everything overnight. You simply begin by acting like the person you want to become, in small, consistent ways. Want to become a reader? Read 1 page a day. Want to be a better listener? Put your phone away during conversations. Want to become disciplined? Show up on time. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they send a powerful message to your brain. This is who I am now. And as your identity begins to shift, your actions naturally follow. You stop needing external motivation because your behavior is being driven internally. It no longer feels like work to do the right thing. It feels like integrity. You're no longer chasing a goal. You're becoming someone new. It's also important to let go of old identities that no longer serve you. Many people stay stuck because they continue to tell themselves old stories. I'm bad with money. I'm not a morning person. I've never been disciplined. But these are not facts. They are choices, repeated over time, that became beliefs. And any belief can be rewritten with action. You don't need to wait until you feel different. You just need to act like the person you want to be and let the feelings catch up. Identity-based habits create consistency, not through pressure, but through alignment. When your actions reflect your beliefs about who you are, you feel empowered, not exhausted. You feel congruent, not conflicted. That alignment is where real strength lives. So instead of asking, what do I want to achieve this year? Ask, who do I want to become this year? Then take small actions every day that align with that version of yourself. Because once you change your identity, the habits will follow, and the results will take care of themselves. Most people believe that the way to stay consistent is to be hard on themselves. They think if they mess up, the solution is more pressure, more guilt, more punishment. But that approach only leads to burnout, shame, and a cycle of stopping and starting again. The truth is, consistency doesn't come from being harsh, it comes from being kind. Self-compassion is the key to staying in the game, especially when things go wrong. No one is perfect. No one has flawless discipline, endless energy, or unshakable focus every single day. Life is messy. You will have bad days. You'll miss workouts. You'll lose your temper. You'll skip routine. That's not failure. That's being human. The people who stay consistent are not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who get up faster. And the reason they can get up fast is because they forgive themselves fast. Self-compassion means giving yourself the same understanding and encouragement that you'd offer to someone you care about. If your friend stumbled, you wouldn't call them a failure or tell them to give up. You'd remind them that one moment doesn't define them, that they're allowed to be imperfect, that they still have value. But when it comes to ourselves, we rarely offer that same grace. Many people confuse self-compassion with weakness. They think being kind to yourself means letting yourself off the hook. But it's the opposite. Self-compassion isn't an excuse to stay the same. It's the fuel to keep growing. When you treat yourself with understanding instead of judgment, you create an inner environment where change is possible. You don't waste energy beating yourself up. You use that energy to move forward.
Shame paralyzes. It says you failed, so you're not good enough. But compassion empowers. It says you slipped, but you're still worthy, and you can try again. That difference matters, because the moment you believe you are broken, you stop trying to build. But if you believe you are still capable, even in your messiest moment, you'll find the strength to keep going. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means returning to the path again and again, no matter how many times you stray. Self-compassion is what makes that return possible. It gives you the emotional safety to start over without dragging the weight of shame with you. It allows you to reset with clarity, not guilt. It also helps you learn from your setbacks. When you're too busy criticizing yourself, you miss the lesson. But when you approach failure with curiosity instead of blame, you begin to see patterns, triggers, and opportunities for growth. Self-compassion creates space for honest reflection without fear. Building a new habit or identity takes time. It's not a straight line. It's a loop of trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. That loop requires patience. It requires understanding. It requires the inner voice that says, keep going, you're doing your best.